Warning. Hashtag DDP Live is for an adult audience. Hashtag DDP Live may contain material that may be unsuitable for sensitive ears. If you are easily offended, run to your panic room now. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Thank you. Please come again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
It is a DDP Live here in Longbox.FM studios. It's Dowdy, and I'm here tonight for a special reason. It's been a couple days since I've posted anything because I've been banned. Unfortunately, the story that I ran last about Steven Peterson, apparently he flagged me and got me and my entire crew shut down for 3 days. But I'm back now, and with some interesting news going on with all of that case. Now, for those who maybe didn't hear, go check out the video that I have on the DDP Live page or on Longbox.FM. It's a story about a guy who has been quite aggressive, the dick pics, all that stuff. While questionable, maybe not enough reason to burn the guy at the stake. But there was something to the story that just didn't stand out as I got more and more knowledge from people sending me screenshots and behaviors, and that's why I did a whole story on it. The guy doesn't seem quite right. I got to be careful. Can't call out mental illness and all that, but something's just not quite right with the way he deals with stuff. He approaches women in dastardly ways. So I ran the story. I was following it for a while, made a video, posted it out, and it did get picked up by the Fresno Bee. It got picked up by KMJ, and I've talked to and I've heard from local TV stations, 47, 24, ABC 30, those three want to do something on it, but they're waiting for the bigger part. Now, again, if you want to go back, you can watch the video to see all the other stuff, and I was addressing the things that people were talking about. Tonight, I'm talking because of a totally different reason. Today, obviously, there was a lot going on in the news when it comes to school shooting in Florida. A lot of questions about why didn't anybody say anything when all the pieces were there, when the evidence was there. And I'll get back to that. One of the people that was pushing this, there was many women who put this out initially. A lot of talk going. There was a guy named Jamie Nelson who really picked up that torch and ran with it. On my end, I was seeing the same stuff on Facebook. I ran with it. Yesterday, Jamie met Steven Peterson after all this went down. Steven Peterson threatened Jamie's life, in the way that I can understand someone who's heated and upset. You've ruined me, whatever, kind of anger issues. Jamie sat in his car while he was calling 911, getting the police out there while this guy not only was screaming and yelling, and here, I'll post what he wrote. So as you can see, Jamie had the interaction with the guy. Now, my original story, I talked about Judge Dennis Peterson, his father. And I talked about what was being discussed as far as knowing, it becomes a juicy story when you know there's someone attached and someone high up in politics, someone high up in the city setup being a judge like Dennis Peterson, wondering if this kid is a kid who's gone through or had the ability to get away with things because of who he's connected to. So after that interaction with Jamie, the cop's not doing anything. Even though he threatened the life, he was acting out of control. I have gotten screenshots from people in the last week showing the threatening manner that he's addressed everyone. He's kind of losing it and going after anyone and everyone he can. To the point I'm actually concerned myself, by the way. I've already talked to neighborhood people. I have the screenshot. His car. By the way, look at it. If you see this, be a little concerned if you have any attachment to it. Enough worry that I need to say something. And again, talking about Florida. If the cops did nothing today, that kind of leads to the idea that maybe he's getting preferential treatment because of who he is the progeny of. His father's a judge. So maybe the cops are protecting their own. And I can get this. I can understand this. And sit with me for a second. You have a friend. You have that friend who's kind of questionable. He acts and behaves a certain way. And it's bad, but he's your friend, so you protect him. Or your coworker. We all have these scenarios where you look out for yours. And police are constantly under attack. Politically, publicly, in their day job. And I'm not the police hater, but police haters are out there, and they get and they're the loudest people on social media, in news. But in a case like this, as I bring it back, they couldn't bust him today. They didn't do anything to him today. So let's walk down this line. Stephen Peterson goes unhinged and does something. He harms one of the people, maybe Laura Walker, maybe Jamie, maybe he does something to me, maybe he does something to anyone else attached. Imagine how fast the mainstream media gets here to Fresno to talk about how someone died, someone was injured, someone was hurt in the mix of this Me Too movement, in the mix of this looking out for the crazies. When we're talking, again, Florida shooting today, one of the biggest mass murdering school shootings in a long time, there will be a lot of questions to Fresno about why nothing was done. And so I would pose this to City Council, anyone who sees this, anyone who gets this shared to them. Maybe this needs to be looked at, because Fresno's looking at yet another awesome lawsuit for whatever victim, if it happens. They're looking at more great publicity about how Fresno is just a dirtbag area. Fresno is run mostly conservative Republican people, city council, things like that. And you can imagine the Don Lemon showing up here to talk about how these Trump supporters would allow a judge's son to get away when there's so much evidence stacked against him, however they would present it. I think at this point, there needs to be some understanding. There needs to be a looking into Stephen Peterson to truly see if he is someone that needs help, if he needs to be institutionalized, or if he needs to sit, a jail timeout. Or you sit at home with daddy in an ankle bracelet and let daddy wail on you because you're really messing up his political career as he's coming to an end, as he's retiring. There needs to be something. And maybe reaching out to the victims of this, starting with Laura Walker. Reach out to Jamie, because he now has on file a police case. He has a 911 call. He had the interaction. And I'm sure Jamie, I know Jamie's a tough guy who's not afraid to talk. But I'm sure while he's doing what he does on his daily life, that he's looking over his shoulder now. These are disconcerting things. And again, do you want to be Florida? Do you want to have that moment where you go, well, we all knew, and the police were contacted, they should have, all right, we'll pay out those big bucks to the victim's family, and we keep rolling around in the dung. Come on. Look at Steven. Steven is a problem right now, and he is freaking out. Not only the 3 people I mentioned tonight, there's many, many women. And again, the Me Too movement, political climate, and mainstream media would eat this up if something bad were to happen. And it started. It's not just emails. It's not just social media call-outs. It has now been an altercation, live and in person. Police were there. They took both sides, and they walked away with nothing. I can't recall off the top of my head, but on Jamie's posts and some of the comments, there were sections as far as legal code, the XXX, saying threats against your life is a felony. There's enough stuff there that maybe right now seems harmless, but when something happens, it's going to be screaming, hey, $1 million at a time. Here we go. Someone's dead, someone's hurt, someone's injured, and the city is again paying out tax dollars at work. Good job. Needs to be called out. I know I'm watching my door. I'm looking. I'm worried. I pushed it. It's out there. Steven Peterson's a douchebag. He's a scary individual right now, and he needs to be looked at carefully. And it doesn't matter who his dad is. It needs to be done. Thanks for tuning in with me tonight. Watch out. Share this to whoever you can. If you feel that there are people that need to be looking out for them, especially the Tower area.
You've been watching hashtag DDP Live on Longbox.FM. The opinions expressed on hashtag DDP Live aren't necessarily those of staff, management, or sponsors of Longbox.FM. If you have been offended in any way during this presentation, you should have turned it off long ago. Hashtag DDP Live is a presentation of Longbox.FM.